to another brand new episode here on 1950's Farm. So what are we doing today? Well, today we are just at the moment giving some straw and feed to the cows with those two bags perched precariously on the end of those tines. Hopefully we'll get them in. It's not looking good, I gotta say, but might get it there. Alright, we need to just lower it a little bit because I don't think it's going to go underneath that shed. Nope. That was something that I had not allowed for. Oh, I don't know, we might still. Oh, look at it. Ah, you see, they don't call me an expert for no reason. I love how that manages to suspend itself in midair. Just because the bottom one went and the drop collision or whatever you call it doesn't then activate. Never mind. Anyway, I didn't realise I was close to the. I was watching the bale then and not the wall. Honestly, people must watch my farming sim videos and think, how the hell did people used to let him loose on their tractors? I never used to do this crazy stuff at work, I can promise you. I had a couple of accidents, of course I did, you know. More so when, you know, it was kind of the beginning of my farming adventure. I've told you many times before about putting the Davy Brown through the lean-to because my foot slipped off the clutch and it meant the tractor just sort of jumped forward, and we had I think I was either putting on the road sweep or the tiny we had a really small, we had a 1.5 meter wide it's a bit like a brush mower, I guess, that we used to run along the bottoms of our trees on the David Brown, so that we could, you know, sort of chop all the, you know, twigs and sticks and stuff like that up, and yeah, I was putting that on and whew, straight through. Straight, as I say, my foot slipped off the clutch, and we the tractor sort of leapt forward, and it dragged the I can't remember if it was the road sweeper or the brush cutter, and it dragged it through the post of the through one side of the lean-to, and because of the way I had my tractor positioned to get it on, because Ray, who I often talk about, especially in this series, because he's a bit of a go-to man, he won't mind me saying this, he'd parked it in the lean-to hey James, at a little bit of a funny angle. He hadn't quite parked it square, and me being me, thinking, oh, I can get that on anyway. You know, it doesn't matter to me, like, you know, I can do that. And so I'm not getting on very well here, am I? So I you know, decided to oh dear, now we're in trouble. There we go. Alright, unfortunately, because of where the trigger is, I have to do this by hand. I can't do this any other way. There we go, that's given them a bit extra food. Their health is good. There's only 50. Yeah, we should be grand there. Right, and yeah, so I thought I could get it on, but I clearly... well, I could have, if my foot hadn't have slipped off the clutch, but it's because I couldn't reach the pedals. I'm about 5'11", and trying to look out of the back window to see whether my lift arms was in line with the you know, where you lift it up the 3-point linkage to make sure my arms are in line with the lift points of the implement. And yeah, while I was leaning out the back, my foot slipped up off the clutch, and because it jumped the tractor forward. And I had another guy that I worked with, John. He was stood sort of between the tractor and the implement because he was helping me get it on. And yeah, he had some very choice words for me, which I very much understand, because, well, I could have decapitated him, really. Luckily, the lean-to didn't come down. Oh, hang on, I can't go this way, can I? Darn it. Why is that gate open? Good job this isn't Ranch Simulator. They'd have been gone. We'd have never have seen them again. They'd have been out there somewhere. Alright, we're going to have to just borrow a little bit of the field here, because I've got to follow me on. I keep forgetting I can't get this way. That might be too narrow because he's got a trailer on. Is he following, or? Nope. I love it when a plan comes together. Oh, I turned too narrow here. There we go. Alright, we'll crack that on. So yeah, as I say, very nearly did it, but anyway, before we get into the meat of the video, we're, you know, only 7 minutes in. Hope everyone's doing okay. Hope everyone's having a good day, and that your day is going the way that you would hope that any day would go for you. Mine not too bad, to be fair. Starting sort of reasonably early in the morning again this morning. Not as early as normal. And I know it's not as early as normal because when I look out my window it's daylight, and normally it's just pitch black, but it is actually proper daylight out there. The frost is, well, it's as severe as it can be. My car is, you know, that lovely kind of, when it's a really sharp frost and everything, like the trees and everything have gone like it looks like there's snow on them, but it's just frost. That's how my car is at the moment. So about a week ago, 2 weeks ago maybe, I had the battery replaced on my car, so I'm hoping that a little bit later on when I go to use the car is still going to work. The car is still going to operate. So yeah, I had to so I've, as everyone knows, I've got a water leak in my car, so when it rains really hard my car fills up with water. And he is coming. I'm sort of looking down there thinking I can't see him anywhere, but there he is. Look. Yeah, my car fills up with water, and I took it to the garage and I told them what the problem was, because I know what the problem is. I just can't fix the problem myself. I'm sure I could if I, you know, but I'm just not very mechanically minded, and I'm not very practical, you know. I tend to leave it to people that won't make the job 10 times worse than what it would have been when we started. So I took it to the local garage because I thought, well, I can walk home from there. I can leave the car there. I can walk home. It's fine, you know. I don't need no one to sort of, you know, sort of ferry me around. And took it to him before Christmas actually, and sort of told him what the issue was, because I've had the issue before. So I had the issue the first time around about 6 years ago, and I was told that if in the particular Volvo that I've got, which is an XC60 R design 3 litre sport or something like that, and I'm not really interested in when I saw the car I was like, that is a gorgeous looking car, and that was the reason why I bought it, and it was solely the reason why I bought it. And I'll tell you why that was, because I went into the showroom and I just went up to the guy in the showroom and I said to him, I said, I want to buy that red car. He sort of looked at me and I went, it's a Volvo XC60. I said, I know what it is. I said, but I want to buy it. And he goes, well, you haven't test driven it or anything yet? I said, don't need to, it's a Volvo. I said, like, Volvos are absolutely bulletproof. I said, like, you know, I don't need to test drive it, I want to buy it. I said, like, that's all you need to know is I need to buy it. And he said, well, I think you should at least test drive it. So anyway, as it was, oh yeah, we're not doing it like that, are we? We do it like this. So I bought the other tractor actually just quickly, because normally I pull the trailer with this tractor, but I bought that one because it can be a little bit temperamental when you hook onto the trailer with this on the back. So decided to sort of to go for this setup where we've got the red tractor on the trailer, the McCormick, so I can think of the name of it, and then we've just got this tractor going around collecting the bales. But yeah, so anyway, I sort of went, anyway, we did test drive it, and I sort of said, yeah, I want to buy this one, and bought, you know, sort of got into the showroom, and I still hadn't at that point taken any notice of the price tag. It's just like, I want to buy that one. That's the one I want. And you know, and you have to understand, I'm not someone that's got many, several thousands of pounds to spend on a car. You know, I was thinking it was going to be about 5-6 grand. You see, this is what I was thinking. And of course, when the man said, "Well, how do you intend to pay for it?" and I said, well, actually, I said, I don't even know how much it is. And he said, it's 12,500. And I was like, ah. I said, that'll have to be finance then, mate. He was just like, you know, he goes, but you're still going to have it. I said, yeah. I said, obviously you're trading my car. So he's like, okay. So I said, that's a Volvo S40. I said, full service history. I said, it's done like 30,000 miles, or maybe 40,000 by that point. I said, and I said, every part that has been replaced on it, I said, which is not many, is a genuine Volvo part. I've not had Unipart put on them. I said, they're genuine Volvo parts done by another Volvo garage. I said, not this one, but another one. I said, like, all signed, all receipted. I said, so he said, how much are you wanting for your car then? So I said, well, I want at least 5 grand. And he said, well, that's what I'd sell it for. So he said, how much do you want for it? So I said, well, if you'd sell it for 5 grand, that means it's worth 5 grand. That's how much I want for it. He said, it doesn't work like that. I've messed that one up straight away. But yeah, anyway, I bought the car, and then, as I say, a few months later, about 3-4 months later, I went out to it one day after it had been raining a lot, and that happens a lot in Britain. I went out to it, and the passenger footwell was completely underwater, and I was gutted. I was absolutely gutted. Anyway, I took it back to them, and they sort of fixed it with, well, I took it to another garage first, funnily enough, and they were like, oh, it's this, and I paid for that. That was like 150 quid. It still was happening, so I took it back to them. Ah, it's the windscreen. So I paid another like £200-300 for a windscreen. It's still happening. I took it back to them, and I can't remember what they did something else to it, and that was like another 150-200 quid. And it was still happening, and I thought, does anyone think I'm being taken for a ride here? I thought, like, so I took it to Volvo, and which is what I should have done in the first place. I understand that, but at the time I was trying to save a few quid because I was paying finance on a car I couldn't really afford. And so I took it back to Volvo, and I said, like, it's got a leak, and they said, oh, okay, fair enough. So they said, is it the front passenger footwell that's filling up? So I said, yeah. So they said, okay. So they said, unfortunately, it happens quite a lot on these cars. So I was like, right, fair enough. So they said, very easy fix. Just the sunroof seals need changing. So the changed sunroof seals cost, I think it cost about 80 quid, 60 to 80 quid, something like that. And I was like, he said, like, that sorted it now. So I went away, and yeah, that sorted it. So I went to the garage just before Christmas, and I said to the guy, I said, sunroof seals have gone again. I said, and it's leaking water into my car, and you know, can you fix it for me? No, it's not the sunroof seals. I said, no, it is. I said, you know, I said, it's the sunroof. I said, I've had this before. You know, we tried everything. I said, it didn't work. As soon as we changed the sunroof seals, everything was good. I said, it's the sunroof seals. So that's what I want you to change. I don't want you to do anything else to the car. I want you to change sunroof seals. I said, you know, and if it's not that, I said, and it still happens, that's on me because I told you to do it. So it goes and picks the car up at the end of the week. So I said, all done? He said, yeah. He said, I didn't change the sunroof seals. So I said, right. He said, I did what I thought was the matter with it. So I said, okay. So anyway, went away. As I say, a day or two later, it rained really heavy again. But Christmas was upon us then, so I thought, well, I'll take it back after Christmas and I'll insist. So I took it back after Christmas, and I said, like, it's leaking. I said, like, will you just do as I asked you to do, please? I said, like, you know, I'm telling you to change the sunroof seals. I want them changed. Like, yeah, but that's not the issue. And I said, how do you know? I said, you're not even looking at them. And he was like, because he said, I know they're not the issue. He said, the modern day sunroof seals are absolutely fantastic. I said, yeah, this car, I said, has a problem with the sunroof seals. I said, like, it's this. I said, that's what's wrong with it. Anyway. Car was there all week, went on the Friday to pick it up. I said, have you done it? He said, no, I haven't even looked at it yet, mate. So I said, right. He said, the reason I ain't looked at it, he said, is I've been trying to do a bit of research about what could be causing the leak. So I said, I told you what's causing the leak. So he said, yeah. He said, I think, he said, like, bring it back next week. He said, because you'll need the car over the weekend, won't you? And I said, yeah. I said, like, that's why I'm back. I said, because I need the car over the weekend. So he said, bring it back next week. He said, and he said, I'm going to, change the air conditioning unit. I looked at him. I said, are you out of your mind? And he looked at me and he goes, what? I said, how and why, I said, is the air conditioning unit putting that much water into my car? I said, when they don't technically, I said, you know, they don't typically have that much water in them. I said, and I never use the air conditioning anyway. I said, I don't like air conditioning. I said, it always gives me a sore throat. I said, if I want air, I open the windows, open the sunroof, you know. I said, like, you know, there's more than enough ways to get air out, you know. I said, I don't use the air conditioning. So he was like, he goes, oh, okay. So I said, I've told you what the problem is. I said, I told you what I want you to fix. I said, why can't you just do that? And he said, because it's not the problem. He said, no, I'm going to be costing you money for something it isn't. I said, but you've not looked at it. I said, and ironically, you're costing me money. I said, from the last time, I said, you charged me 80 quid. I said, to clear out the bloody, the drain pipe that goes down the pillar of the front passenger side. I said, like, you charged me 80 quid. So I said, to blow that out. I said, and to clean it all out. I said, and that wasn't the issue. I said, I already told you what the issue was. And he was like, yeah. Anyway, long of the story short was I didn't take it back because it was just a case of I was going to have to just continually pay for stuff it wasn't when I was telling him what it was. So haven't got it fixed yet, because on the Monday when I was going to take it to Volvo, I had the flat battery, which the battery was old. It was the original one on there, and I've had the car now nearly 10 years or 9 years, I think I've had it. So the fact that that battery had lasted 9 years, or over 9 years, because it was on the car when I bought it, and it wasn't a new battery then. So that car's, you know, the battery's well over 9 years old. So I've gone for another one of the batteries that's on it. So just thought, well, you know, why not? Had the RAC come out and do that for me. I've got their cover anyway, so it didn't cost me anything to have the battery put on. And the guy, when he came, he said, did you put this battery on? I said, nah, that battery was on the car when I bought it. So he said, all right. So I said, why, what? Well, you know, I said, it's been a good battery, that. He said, it's been a very good battery. He said, considering it ain't big enough for the car. It's like, oh. So he said, I'll put a bigger one on. He said, you'll get on even better. So I was like, okay. So anyway, he put a bigger battery on, and so hopefully that one might last even longer. But yeah, so I don't know. Never mind. Anyway, what are we doing today? So today we're cleaning up the bales. We're going to put the bales in the bale shed, obviously, because it seems the most sensible place to put them. I don't know about yourselves. We're going to do that, and that will then give us enough feed for the cows. We will then, I will probably, I don't know, I might, I might do the other. I'll tell you what. Oh, well, that actually won't work. It won't work. I was going to say in the comments, tell me if you want to see me cut and do the other field the same as I did this one, but that won't work because by the time you guys see this, I'll already be recorded next week's videos. So that's not going to work. So yeah, don't comment because it'll already have been done. Never mind. Anyway, so in last week's FS25 Walter video, Walter's Revenge, I think I've called that series, something like that. So I'm just looking to see if there's a bale sort of nearby. I told a story, a farming story, of something that happened to me, something that I wasn't very happy about, something that, you know, to be fair, I was livid, like, you know, and the thing is, not many people are watching that series, which, you know, is fine, and, you know, doesn't bother me at all, but I know that sort of a few of my viewers that watch this series probably don't necessarily watch that series, and I like to sort of give farming related stories, and so that, you know, you guys get to hear the same story that the people that watch Walter heard. I'll tell the story again, so I apologize if any of you do watch both, because you're gonna sort of kind of, this is like the extended version of the story, I guess, in a way. Whereas the one in the Walter one was sort of just told very quickly at the end. So, because a lot more happened than what I said in the other video on Sunday that I told the story in. So, essentially, started work on the second farm and got through the first winter. As I said, I was on the arable team. You know, I've said this many times before. I was on the arable team. So I'm combining, drilling, and sort of stuff like that. You know, spraying, that sort of side of the farm, right? And that was in the farm that was in Long Sutton, and then you had the farm that was in Sutton Bridge, who were on sort of like the potato and sugar beet side of things and sort of stuff like that. Then you had the farm in Terrington St Clements. They would be, you know, they would cover, I can't remember what they covered. I'm guessing it would be veg, like onions and carrots and stuff like that. I'm guessing, I can't remember. I know the Wisbech farm did that one, actually, because I went and helped them a couple of times. So the Wisbech farm did that one. But yeah, so each farm covered a different area of, you know, of the farm itself. So we also had beef stock, which was, I think they call it finishing stock, don't they? I think, which is where they get them in at a certain age. They sort of finish fattening them off and then sell them off to the beef, you know, to the markets. I think that's what they call it. I've never really got involved too much with the animal side of things because it doesn't really interest me. But you know, as I say, I sort of, if I get terms wrong or if I get things wrong, you know, I just don't know generally that much about it. So, you know, it's not an ignorance thing. It's just, you know, something that I've never really sort of, never really taken much interest in. Anyway, so, and we also had a dairy, and we had sort of a relatively big dairy. I think there was about 500 cows in there. It did go up into the thousands by the time that I left, but oh yeah, as you can see, look, we got loads and loads and loads of poo out of the two cow barns, and off the heap. We got quite a lot. I pushed that one up to the left, but I haven't pushed the other one up yet, which obviously I will do. But yeah, so we had a dairy as well. So by the time I left the farm, I had to leave the farm, you know, through my ill health, they were into the thousands. So got through the first winter, got through the first summer. Second winter, it got explained to me that that sometimes people on the on the arable side of the farm had to go and help the people on the dairy side of the farm, especially. Oh, do you know what? Do you know what? As soon as I did that, I just knew I'd cut that too much. Not by much, but just a little bit too much. Should get through that. Oh, we've now got to try. Oh, God, why didn't I just swing round and go the wide way? There we go. We're through. So yeah. Anyway, as I say, you had to go and help them out. So this particular day, I was ploughing, and it was winter time, and the frost was, up. And it was, I say it was winter. It was late spring, late winter, sort of early spring, as I remember it. I think it was sort of like March, but we were still getting. We'd had some snow, and we were still getting the sharp frosts, and and stuff like that. So anyway, ploughing away, Adrian comes to the field. He says to me, he says, when you've done this, I want you to go to the dairy. So I said, right. He said, take your tractor. So I said, right. He said, go to the dairy. He said, the lads there will show you which slurry tank to put on. So I said, right. And because I assumed I was going slurry spreading, right? Never done it before in my life. Didn't, so I said, right. He said, and he said, what you do is, he said, you're going to take it from the dairy farm. So I said, yeah. He said, and you're going to take it up to where we store it. So I said, okay. I said, where's that? He said, don't worry about that. He said, you'll be following someone. There'll be two of you on it. So I said, okay, fair enough. So he said, he said, all you got to do is follow the lane. He said, I've told them, not to drive off without you because you'll never find it. He said, don't, he said, I've sorted it. So I was like, okay, fair enough. So he said, yeah, all right. So realising I had to do that, I then started to plough a little bit slower. I thought I'm making this last. I thought I'm not going up there and doing loads, because he said, you've got a day or two up there, so I was thinking there's obviously quite a lot. So I thought, I'll plough this nice and steady. I'm not going up there too early. And I'd never met the lads on the dairy. I'd never, I'd not been there. I'd not, I had nothing to do with the dairy up till that point. Anyway, I get the ploughing done that day, and that afternoon. So I get back to the farm. So Adrian says to me, he says, right, he says, they're not actually ready yet. So I said, okay. So he said, you're going to amuse yourself today, so we can go home if you want. You can have, he said, a bit, because you said you was in early this morning because you was ploughing on the frost. He said, what time did you get in this morning? I said, about 1:30. So he said, yeah, all right. So you can go home if you like. He said, and then just tomorrow, he said, come in at the normal time. So I said, okay. He said, just come in at 7. So I said, all right. So I went home, and it was, nice to, sort of just chill out and what have you. Sort of got changed, went home, got changed, had a shower, got changed, and then drove to my girlfriend's at the time and sort of spent the rest of the day with her, which was really nice, And anyway, so I next day I get to work and get in my tractor, know where I'm going, know what I'm doing. So I get in my tractor and I go up to the dairy, which wasn't that far away. It was sort of heading towards Boston, and but down some right lonely tracks to get to it. It was you can't see it from the A17 or from any of the sort of main roads heading towards Boston. It's right down a track and quite secluded. Anyway, and gets there. For the first time I'm meeting the lads. Now I'm not very good at meeting new people, right? I don't really like it, if I'm honest. I get really nervous, I get really shy, I get really self-conscious, I just don't like it. Especially males, because I was bullied really badly at school, obviously by the lads, and I just don't trust sort of lads in and around my age. Sort of older men, yeah, I'm a lot comfortabler around them. Same really with sort of women, really. Much comfortabler around older women than I am, sort of girls and women my own age, you know, sort of feel a lot happier around older women. Anyway, so I gets down there and I met a lad, Darren, and he said to me, he said, like, this is what we're going to be doing. So okay, fair enough. So he said, I've got mine loaded up already. So I said, right. He said, so we'll get yours loaded up. So I said, yeah. He said, I'll do this one and show you how to do it. He said, but it would be handy if you could then sort of remember where you're going and remember how to do this. He said, because obviously then we can just really get on with it. I said, okay. I said, I might need to be shown a couple of times because I've never done it. He said, yeah, it's fine. He said, you can be shown as many times as you like. He said, but just saying, like, you know, he said, eventually I want you to sort of say to me, I can do that now by myself. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm doing. He said, like, whatever. He said, because he said, apparently you have a tendency to get lost. So I said, yeah. I said, my sense of direction is not very good. So I said, I definitely couldn't be a homing pigeon. So anyway, and that's kind of how I tend to, you know, sort of deal with new situations and situations that I'm not really comfortable in. I tend to start telling jokes and sort of being a bit silly, and which then makes me come across as a bit childish, and I'm not like that, but it's just kind of like how I sort of try and convince myself that it's going to be okay. Anyway, so he's like, yeah, that'll be fine. So we do this fit anyway. He does it once, and literally it is as easy as pie. It was literally a case of, you get the pipe was connected to the slurry pump already, and all you had to do was connect it to your tanker, lock it, and then just switch the pump on, and then, you know, so that it sucked it out. You see, same as spraying basically. And I am one of the qualified spraymen on the farm, so it's literally the same as, you know, spraying. That was how they were doing it. So I just sort of thought, you know, no problem. So I said, okay. I said, right. I said, what I'll do is, I said, I think I could do this myself. So he said, okay. I said, all I got to do is put that on there and then just suck it out and then switch it off and then disconnect the pipe. He said, yeah, you must switch it off before you disconnect the pipe. He said, otherwise you'll get an airlock. He said, and also as well, switch the slurry tank side off first. He said, otherwise you'll get covered in shit. So I said, excuse my French. So I said, okay. I said, fair enough. So yeah, fair enough. You know, did that, followed him, and when we got to the dairy farm, I said to him, I said, I know the way now, mate. So he said, really? So I said, yeah. I said, you only have to take me once. I said, and then I said, I can remember that. I said, there's no problem. So he said, all right, fair enough. He said, all right, we'll crack on then. He said, so here you just reverse it. So he said, like, you know, you put the pipe on, then you turn the slurry pump on, and then, you know, then it, you know, sort of sucks it out of your tractor. So he says, it's just basically reversing what we do down the other end. Yeah, fair enough. So for the next sort of day and a half, I'm doing that, right? It's now Friday. So no, sorry, it was Thursday. So you know, it gets sort of towards the end. Get back to the dairy farm for the last run that I did. Get back to the dairy farm, and they said to me, they said, like, you know, I've got a problem with my slurry tanker. So I said, okay, right. So he said, I wonder if you could help me with it. So I said, yeah, what's up? He said, I think I've got an airlock in it. So I said, right. He said, and so the slurry tanker that he had, you could attach a dribble bar and then you could dribble it out, or you can just pump it and transfer it from one place to another. It was, you know, sort of, I don't know whether all slurry tankers could do that, but with this particular one, he had the dribble bar sort of connected to it, but he wasn't using the dribble bar. He was just using the thing, you know, to transfer it from the dairy farm to where they were storing it. So I was like, yeah, okay, fair enough. So anyway, we you know, he says, like, would you help me? So I said, yeah, I'll help you if I can. So I said, I'm not very practical. He said, to be fair, he said, I don't think it's, he said, I think I've got an airlock in it. He said, I think I've got like an airlock in there or something, or, you know, he said, it's just something's going on, or maybe one of the pipes blocked or whatever. He said, like, you know, which happens. He said, it's no problem. So I said, he said, what about you do it? He said, if you could disconnect, and he sort of walked me around the back. He said, if you can disconnect this one. I said, yeah. He said, this pipe here. So I said, right. He said, and then go the other side and then disconnect that one. So I said, yeah. He said, and then just stand there. He said, and then what I'll do is I'll switch it on, and if you can hear air coming out of it, we know we've got an airlock. He said, if you can't hear no air coming out of it, we know we're fine. So I said, okay. So he said, you want to get down quite low to it? He said, because, like, you know, he said, you'll never be able to hear it. And I'm quite a trusting person, right? because I daredn't sort of argue against people. I'd never been there. I'd never seen a slurry tanker before that day. I'd seen them on the road, but I'd never, sort of had anything to do with one where I was kind of like operating it or, using it or anything like that. So I'm like, okay. So I'm at the back there. I'm getting the second pipe off, and they were really easy to get off. It's just a case of lifting the catch and, sort of just screwing it a little bit, sort of wiggling it backwards and forwards until it came off, you see. It's quite easy to do. What I hadn't realised at this point was, and because I've got myself in position quite low down so I can hear it, because I don't have very good hearing, so I thought I better get right low down to it, otherwise I'll never hear it over the noise of the tractor and when he turns the pump on, you see. And that was the point where I was angry with myself, because my head had gone when he turns the pump on, right? So at that point I should have gone, hang on a minute, I know what you lot are doing. Well, as I got myself in position, what I hadn't realised was that someone had gone quite a bit further behind me and was giving him the thumbs up that yes, I was in position. Of course, he turns the pump on and it sprays all this slurry and mess and crap and everything out, and I'm absolutely covered. I mean, it has gone in my mouth, it has gone up my nose, it has gone in my ears. I am literally covered from like head to toe in slurry. And I was livid. I was absolutely. I'm not an angry, violent person, but I was livid. If ever I was going to kill someone, that would have been the moment when I would have done it. I went round there because like sort of a bit of a crowd had gathered and everyone was laughing, and I think that sort of does now, because I always feel like people are laughing at me anyway. I'm quite self-conscious to say I always feel like people are laughing at me anyway. And so I like I say, I was proper livid, and I've gone up to him like, and I don't know, and he had quite long hair, and I grabbed hold of his hair, and I just like dragged his face down my boiler suit so that he got it all over his face, and then a bit of a scuffle kind of sort of took part and sort of happened. Well, I'm not really a fighter, and so I quickly sort of backed away from that one because I was never going to win. And as obvious as it is, if I get hit in the wrong place, that's lights out. Do you know what I mean? So I quickly sort of came to my senses and reversed out of that one, and sort of went away. And I was absolutely livid. I was really, really livid. Anyway, the one of the young girls that worked on the dairy, she came over. She was a college student, and she was sort of doing a placement course like on our dairy, and she came over and she went, "You poor thing," she said, "right, if you go in that building there, the showers and that in there, get changed." She said, "We have a locker with change of clothes and that in, so that if we get wet or we get covered, like, well, not like that, but if we get it on us, there's a change of clothes for us. We don't have to bring our own clothes, they provide a change of clothes for us." So I was like, okay. So she said, like, "I'll sort that out for you. Go and have a shower." There's a shower block and everything in there. She'd like, "Go and have a shower." She'd like, and make sure you get all of that out your mouth and all out of your ears and out of your nose and that. So I'm like, okay, So anyway, goes and does that. Comes out, and Darren's waiting for me. And he says to me, he says, "Oh, I'm really sorry." He said, "It was only meant as a laugh." He said, "But I can see you're not taking it funny." And so I said to him, I said, "You do realise, don't you?" I said, like, "You could now have, like, made me really ill." So he went, "Oh, come on." He said, "It's only a bit." He said, like, "I'll get it over me all the time." So I said, "Oh, you drink it, dear?" So he said, "Well, no." He said, "I don't drink it." He said, I said, "You obviously don't realise." I said, "But I've got like a really serious heart condition." I said, "And as a part of that," I said, "I don't have a very good immune system." I said, "So I'm now definitely going to be ill because," I said, "of what I've sort of taken in up my nose, in my mouth, and sort of everywhere else." I said, "So I'm now going to be ill." So I said, like, "Thanks for that one." I said, like, "Really appreciate that." I said, "And hopefully," I said, "I won't be hospitalised from it." He was like, "Oh, I had no idea, blah, blah, blah." So I said to him, I said, "What possessed you to do such a stupid thing as that?" I said, like, "Honestly," I said, "you're complete and utter moron." I said, like, you want to grow up. I said, there's a joke. I said, and I can take a joke. You know, I said, like someone walking around a corner and you go, poof. You know, I said, like, I can take that. I said, that's fine. I said, you might give me a heart attack. I said, but I would laugh. I would find that funny. I said, my brothers used to do that to me all the time as a kid, because they used to say, I just want to see how strong your heart really is. You know, so I said, I would be forever just sort of sat there with headphones on, and my brothers would go, poof, like, you know, and grab hold of me and shake me. I said, like, you know, I said, I can deal with that. I said, I can handle that. I said, but that is just utterly ridiculous. I said, you are so lucky, I said, that I am not stronger than what I am. I said, because I would have smashed your lights out, mate. I said, like, oh, livid. Anyway, the dairy manager, so there was a guy up there, I can't remember if his name was Brian or Michael or something like that. And he called me into the office, and he basically said, like, what, you know, what's happened? So I said, like, you know, this has happened, you know. So he said, okay. He said, well, he said, I didn't see that. He said, all I saw was you sort of punching and sort of, you know, being quite physical towards Darren. So I said, well, wouldn't you? I said, if you see that, you could clearly see. I said, I was covered in crap. And he goes, yeah. He said, well, he said it wasn't really apparent at the time. So I said to him, I said, all right, fair enough. I said, well, I said, don't worry about it. I said, you know, I said, I ain't never coming back here again to help you like that. I said, you're just a bunch of muppets. I said, like, you know, so I said, like, you know, you can forget about it. I said, like, you know, I said, I came down here as a favour. You know, I said, like, you know, we, you know, as Arable boys, we come down here, I said, like, you know, to help you like that, because you get a bit behind and that. I said, because you don't work very hard and you're a bit slow. I said, so we come down here and give you a hand. I said, like, you know, not that we ain't got anything to do, you know. I said, like, you know, I could be getting on with loads of stuff today. So he said, yeah, well, he said, I'm going to have to obviously speak to your manager. He said, like, no, you know, I'm obviously going to have to take disciplinary action against you because, you know, you've attacked one of my boys. So I said to him, I said, yeah, you do what you like. I said, like, you do what you like. I said, that's fine. I said, I'll be having a word with Adrian as well. So don't worry about that. So anyway, it goes back to the farm. The lovely lady, I don't know what her name is, but lovely girl got me a change of clothes, and I went back to the farm. And everything that I'd worn, I just threw in the bin. I just thought, I'm never wearing that again, because it was, you know, I thought you're never going to get a smell out. And getting back to Adrian, so Adrian, when I get there, the dairy bloke had already rung him, obviously, because Adrian said, I need to have a word with you. So I said, yeah, I need to have a word with you. So anyway, he sort of, I tells him sort of my side of the story, and he said, well, that's not what I've heard. So I said, well, that's what happened. I said, like, that is what happened. So anyway, we oh no, don't go that way, James. We'll get stuck again. So you know, Adrian then sort of goes off and he speaks to a couple of people from the dairy, and he speaks to the young girl that helped me out, and she basically collaborated, whatever, my story, and he, like, Adrian sort of got back to me and said, right, he goes, a couple of people have said virtually word for word what you said. So I said, right. So he said, I'm now, he said, obviously inclined to believe you over them. He said, and the other thing as well is, I said, yeah, he said, is Darren's admitted that he did it. So I said, oh, I said, that's all right then. I said, like, you don't need no one else's say if he's admitted. He said, yeah, he admits that it was a practical joke that he took too far. So I was like, right, okay. Well, anyway, so Friday I was at work, so, and I'd gone to work that day, and I sort of didn't, I don't know, I felt okay, I guess. I think I was more sort of mentally anxious about, you know, what might be sort of happening, or, you know, whatever. And I'd gone to sort of, anyway, I was at work, and I was on my tractor, I was on my Challenger, and I was disking some veg land, some Brussels land that they'd harvested, and it was a right soggy old mess, and the water was just sort of kind of laying in it. So I had the discs, but we had like a set of subsoilers on the front, so I was lightly pulling the subsoiler through with the discs on the back to try and sort of drain the water off a little bit, so as I could come and plough the field, you see. So anyway, I'm sort of in the middle of the field, I'm in the middle of nowhere, right, as is pretty much always the case with our farm, because like I say, the land is, I mean, we've obviously got land near, you know, sort of populated areas, but for the most part you're in the middle of nowhere. And I'm, you know, sort of sitting there anyway, I'm sort of going along, so I've eaten my dinner, eaten my lunch, and probably about an hour and a half after lunch, I started to feel a bit queasy and I started to feel a bit like not very well. So I thought it's probably just in your head, because I was still thinking a lot about what had happened. Anyway, next thing I know, very, very poorly, very instantly. Like, literally went from not feeling so good to just kind of, I'm not going to go into great details, but it, was both ends. All right. So, livid at this point. Like, yeah, but sort of, whilst I'm livid now about it, but at the time I was just like, oh my god, and I started and I was getting like really bad heart palpitations. I was getting like really, really, really bad pains in my stomach, in my chest, really bad. And I was really, and I thought, oh god, because so with the heart operation that I had, everything that didn't work. So only one of my chambers works, and the only chamber that works is the chamber that is used for pumping the blood to the lungs and through the pulmonary artery. It's the only chamber in my heart that works, and everything that connects that and every bit that they had to add to it, because the rest of my heart, although it's still there, they've obviously not cut it away or anything, but it's dead. So when you look at sort of my heart on an echo, if you look at the sort of from the top of the heart sort of kind of down, it just looks like my heart's just sat still. It looks like my heart has stopped beating, but I'm still alive. It's a very odd thing, because I've sort of obviously seen all of these images, and now that we in sort of in 2024 had an MRI scan, and it was like even clearer, and see the live pictures and this, that and everything, and it's fascinating and it's amazing, and and I'm thinking, but everything that was added to make my heart sort of function, anything near sort of normal, it obviously doesn't function at normal capacity. That's the reason why my sort of hands and my feet are black, my face is like a purpley colour, and I just don't look very good, but I obviously feel fine, and so I'm sort of now not being very well. Anyway, rings Adrian, and Adrian comes down, and he goes, I mean, I was in like proper agony pain, like really, I've never experienced pain like it, and I say I'm being really ill, and he says, I think we better get an ambulance. So say my heart was going nuts, and everything that is there that connects it to make it work is, as I was going to say, is synthetic. So it's sort of a man-made material, and I've been told that if it ever comes into contact with certain things, it could corrode or dissolve or whatever, and obviously means that I would bleed into my thingy, into my body, and like have internal bleeding is what I was trying to say, and so at this, like 10 million things are racing through my head, and I'm feeling faint, I'm feeling and I'm feeling a lot proper. Anyway, I get taken to hospital, and turns out in the end, thankfully, after loads and loads of blood tests, after loads and loads of fluids being pumped into me and everything like this, the next day on the Saturday, the nurse comes round and says, like, how do you feel? And I said, like, oh, I feel a lot better today. So she said, okay, that's good. She said, you can go home later today. So I said, really? She's like, yeah. She goes, it's fine. I said, well, what was wrong with me then? So she goes, you had the worst case of norovirus she said we've sort of ever seen. She had like all your blood tests come back with it's that. So I was like, okay. So she said, we gave you something that stops it in its track, and as you know, it very quickly stopped it. It took away the pain, didn't it? So I said, yeah, the pain went. I said, the pain was excruciating. She said, yeah. She said, basically, although it's I don't mean this literally, she said, but it basically had your stomach in knots. Your body didn't know what on earth was going on. So she goes, where on earth did you catch it from? So then I told her about what had happened, and she goes, oh yeah, well that would do it. So she said, because you were really lucky. She said, if you'd have been older, she said, that could have really made it, sort of life and death. She said, but because you're younger, she said, and, you're sort of quite healthy, quite fit. She said, I know you've got all your health conditions and your heart condition and that shit, but you are still quite a fit, healthy young lad. So she said, that's the reason why your body has responded rapidly to the treatment that we gave you, and that you're okay. So I was like, okay. So I said, what do you like? I said, do I need any time off, or can I just go back to work? She goes, I would have a week off. She said, and just recover your strength, because you're quite weak. She said, according to your girlfriend and your mum. So I said, yeah. She goes, you've lost quite a lot of weight in the last 2 days. And I thought the last day and a half. So I said, yeah. I said, I did look down and thought, Christ, stuff will fit me again. She said, yeah. So she said, I'd have a week off. She said, I wouldn't go too mad on the old food front. She said, I would eat little and often. She said, and I would eat quite bland food for a week. She said, just to make absolutely sure. She said, because she said, although it's unlikely, she said it can come back. So I said, right. So she said, but we'll give you the stuff that we, gave you in the first place to stop it. So she said, if it does come back, you just take that, and again, hopefully that should then, quell it, and you'll be fine. So I was like, okay, fair enough. So anyway, on the Monday, I rang Adrian and said, I won't be coming in for a week. So he said, that's fair enough. So he said, he said, you've got a little bit of annual holiday. Do you want to take 2 weeks and have 1 week holiday? He said, and thingy. So I said, I said, no, actually. I said, I don't. I said, and I said, I'm obviously ringing you to tell you that I'm not coming in. I said, however, I said, I'm not coming in. I said, because I'm on the sick. I said, but the farm's actually going to pay me for not coming in and being on the sick. And he said, why? He said, no, that's not how we do it, is it? So I said to him, I said, I got to be honest, mate. I said, I don't really care. I said, it's the farm that did it to me. I said, it's not nothing I've done. I said, if I'd have caught a bug and ended up like that, I said, that's fair enough. I said, that's just, chance. That could happen to any one of us. I said, but someone on the farm did something to me that made me ill. I said, so therefore, I said, the dairy should pay my sick pay for being off work. I said, because I'm now having to lose money through something that I had no control over. I said, that I didn't do. So anyway, he was like, I don't think they're going to go for that. So I said, you are going to go for that? I said, because otherwise I'm going to go to a bloody tribunal or something. I said, because I'm not having it. I said, it could have really made me very, very ill. I said, we're lucky that I seem to have sort of, recovered as quick and as well as I have. I said, I said, I'm proper not happy. So anyway, he says to me, he says, come into the office today. He said, you ain't got to work or anything. He said, but come into the office today. He said, and we'll sit and have a chat about it. So I'm not talking to you about it over the phone. So he said, because there's other people in the office. So I said, all right, fair enough. So went in and had a chat. And anyway, he said to me, he goes, right, he said, I've had a word with sort of the owners, if you like. He said, and they kind of don't agree that they should pay you. So I said, well, I said, it's either you pay me, I said, for being off, I said, or I take it further. I said, a lot further. I said, because God knows how many health and safety rules have been breached in the last, sort of 3 or 4 days. I said, in terms of what happened to me. I said, that makes you accountable, that makes the dairy manager accountable, it makes the farm accountable. I said, he said, yeah, but he said, I'm not being funny. He said, but more than likely, if you do that, you'll lose your job. So I said, well, I said, it's better than losing my life, isn't it? I said, I said, I'm not happy. I said, really not happy. I said, you either sort it out. I said, or, I go somewhere to get it sorted out. I said, the choice is yours, really. I said, it's entirely up to you. Anyway, as it was, they did pay me, and when I got back a week later, so the sort of following Monday, I went back to work, and to be fair, by Wednesday I was ready to go back to work, but I was proving a point. So not really, but you know, in my own head I was like, you know, and but I was ready to go back to work by the Wednesday. I was bored out of my brains. I was. Oh dear me. And so yeah, so I get back to work, and when I got back to work, Adrian said to me, he said, right, he said, we've had a bit of an inquiry and a bit of a thing. So I said, yeah. So he said about what happened. So I said, right. So he said, and Darren's been sacked. So I said, right. So he said, you know, so I said, well, I didn't necessarily want that necessarily to happen. I said, but he certainly should have been, like, you know, given written warnings, final warnings, blah, 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 blah. I said, but I didn't necessarily want him to lose his job. So he said, no, he has lost his job. He said, because, you know, he said, we got in touch with independent like medical team that they use to settle their like if someone's off ill for a long time, to sort of say, well, is this, you know, what would happen or whatever. So they have like an independent medical assessing team that can say, yes, this, you know, this is what we would expect, or no, they're taking the, you know, the mickey. And they said, like, given your condition, given the fact that your immune system is the way it is, you know, it could have ended very badly for you. I said, I bleeding well know that. I said, they ended up in hospital. I said, they can't end up much better, you know, badder than that. So he said, like, Darren's been, you know, he said, has been sacked. So anyway, that day I was in the yard, and I was sort of doing some maintenance jobs on the subsoiler and discar and that, and Darren came in and saw me, came onto the farm, onto the arable farm, saw me, come straight over to me, and I'm thinking he's just gonna, you know, he's gonna, like, you know, beat me up or whatever. And he came over and he said to me, he goes, I am so sorry for what I did. He said, I thought it was a bit of a laugh and a bit of a giggle, you know, he said, but you know, he said, if I'd have known that it would be quite so serious as what it is, and that you'd be so much of a bigger stickus over the whole thing, he said, then I wouldn't have done it. He said, and especially as I've now lost my job, because he said, like, you know, I've obviously got a new wife, we've got a young family, we've got 3 kids, you know, what have you. And I said to him, I said, you should have thought about all of that before you did what you did. I said, like, I said, I'm sorry you've lost your job. I said, but, you know, I said, I could have lost my life. I said, so I said, in all fairness, I said, I've got away with it. I said, and you've got away with it. I said, because then you'd have been, you know, charged with like manslaughter or something like that. I said, most probably, I don't know how the law works, but I said, like, you know, I said, all told, mate, I said, to learn the lessons from it. I said, like, grow up and don't do it again. I said, and I walked off. I still wasn't happy, but yeah. So as I say, that's kind of like the, not, you know, the full version of kind of what happened, rather than the sort of just told at the end of a video what happened. But anyway, I'm gonna go now, because this video has been almost an hour long, so I thank you all for listening if you got to the end of it. I know some people do like to hear my farm stories, and do like to, or my farm experiences, and, you know, things that have happened on the farm. So I hope you've enjoyed that one, and sort of had a good laugh and what have you, because I can laugh about it now, but at the time I couldn't. But now I can laugh about it now, and when I tell people the story and they laugh, you know, I see the funny side of the story now. So I hope you've all had a bit of a giggle and a chuckle, and got an image in your head of me just standing in the middle of a dairy farm, absolutely covered head to toe, you know, brown. My lovely green John Deere boiler suit was, you know, a very distinct smelly shade of brown. And yeah, so anyway, but like I say, thanks ever so much for watching if you've got to the end. I really appreciate it, and I very much look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye for now.